The first thing that women need when they're trying to make a change is just a minute to breathe and to step away. You need time for that and quiet. Honestly, there were a couple of things that were really powerful. One was that
Dr. Erica Howe is a board-certified hospitalist and a nationally known educator, wife, and mother of 3 kids. She is also a physician and founder of the Women Physicians Wellness Conference.
She has given 200+ talks, both nationally and internationally, on topics like conflict management, gaining clarity in your clinical career, time management, and boundary setting.
How do women take that next step? What are some things that you did to overcome that?
recognizing that everything takes time and there's no timeline around this, reflecting and then asking yourself, what energizes me? What do I get excited about? And how much of my day is comprised of that versus the things that drain me?
Welcome to the Interesting MD podcast, the show about what doctors do when we aren't seeing patients and how this can help us find balance and prevent burnout. I'm your host, Rob Beck.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Interesting MD podcast. I'm Rob Beck, your host, and today I have a very special treat. I have one of my first residents when I was a medical student. I have Dr. Erica Howe, who is somebody that we will talk about later about how much she means to me and how impressive she is. And she has been kind enough to come on today as she is very focused on women physicians' wellness and is also an entrepreneur herself and is going to talk a lot about women in leadership and how to just balance life, do all these things. And I greatly appreciate you coming on. Just really quickly, Erica, you are the reason that sometimes when I'm writing my daily progress notes that I will write no fevers, chills, nausea, vomiting, shortness of breath, or chest pain at the end of that. And I think that people sometimes read that and they're like, what the hell? I'm like, I don't know. It's from Erica Howe. Like, she made me do this for an entire month on every single patient. And so it's just one of the things that stuck. So anyway, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Rob. It is so great to be here and so great to connect with you. This is so much fun already. And I'm glad that I could have such an incredible review of systems effect on you in your longer training years.
Yes, it's so funny. I did that last week and I was like, oh, I'm going to talk to Erica next week. And I have to tell her this. Like, this is still many, many years later. It's like 20 years later. So anyway, welcome and thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. This is so fun.
All right. So for everybody, do you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself, about where you're from, where you went to school, where are you living now? What are you doing now, if that's okay?
Absolutely. So I grew up a military brat. So I kind of lived all over and then ended up my dad ended up retiring in Utah. So I ended up going to the University of Utah for undergraduate and then again for medical school. And then I went down to Tulane where I met you and did residency and my chief year, just as you did. And then I ended up going up to Baltimore to Johns Hopkins and working there as faculty while my husband finished his fellowship. And he is actually from Kansas City. And so at the end of his fellowship, he suggested we look at Kansas City. And I think the words I used were, we are never moving to Kansas City. And so we've now been here 15 years. And I've eaten those words so many times since. And for many years, I was a practicing academic hospitalist. In doing that, I was really interested in medical education and had learned along the way, had taken some courses on curriculum development and teaching skills. And when I was working here in Kansas City clinically, I was doing that and teaching faculty development courses on clinical teaching, how to incorporate it into your clinical day, and developing curriculums for the University of Kansas. And after close to 20 years of practice, I ended up stepping away, and I am now the physician founder of the Women Physicians Wellness Conferences. And we actually just introduced our first Women Professionals Wellness Conference in addition to that.
That is fantastic. And so now you guys are enjoying all of the Kansas City Chiefs football, visits from Taylor Swift, right? Like, I mean, have you guys had like a, close personal friend. She's a huge fan of the pod. I'm sure that she watches every week.
And I want you to know that when she moved in with Travis, I did not stalk her along with my husband and find out that she lives a short 18-minute ride from my house. I didn't do that. I don't know where she is.
You have no idea. That was not you that
no
broke into his house and stole all the stuff. Is that right?
Creepy.
That was Mark.
That was Mark.
that was Mark.
That was my husband. But yes,
I can see
finally,
it.
go Chiefs. When I moved here, they were not doing so well. You'll notice a pattern, and wherever I move, the team kind of doesn't do well. But they've taken off.
They do better, right? I
do
think
better,
that is
eventually.
Yeah, so if there are any NFL teams out there who are really struggling, have Mark and Erica move back to your city, give it 5 years, 7 years, and then you'll be right on the upswing, right? All right. So how did you end up getting into kind of physician burnout, specifically for women? How did you get into all of this? And how did you get into coaching and teaching and everything else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I, not surprisingly, was 75% of the population of physicians, and specifically women physicians, that I finished my residency. I was faculty, and very quickly after that, had children, and I had 3 kids in 5 years, and was a full-time academic hospitalist at the same time, part of a dual physician household. And I was just barely keeping my head above water. And I looked around, and I was looking at all these other women, and it looked like they had it completely together. Really, I think kind of our culture indoctrinates us to, give this cool, calm, confident persona at all times, right? And I think that is part of just being a physician in general, but specifically for women physicians working in a male-dominated field, and, maybe being second guessed a fair amount because of our gender. And so I remember one night I was packing up my things to leave, and there was a colleague that walked by my office and just said, "Hey, Erica, how's it going?" And I said, "Great. How are you?" And he said, "Great. I'll see you tomorrow." And he left. And I turned to pick up my bag, and I remember thinking, I'm not great. I'm the opposite of great. Why did I say that? I'm so tired of pretending. I don't have a solution to any of this, but I just can't keep pretending it's all okay anymore. And the next person that asks me how I'm doing, I'm actually going to tell them. There was a hallway, an elevator that led down to a hallway. And this hallway was a place that led to the parking garage. And it was just like a minute and 37-second walk to the parking garage down this hallway. And I privately referred to this as my hallway of shame, because this was just a really wonderful place for me to reflect on all the ways in which I was failing that day. When I was coming into work, the fact that I should have been there earlier, and, I should have, I should already be seeing patients and all of this. And when I left, the fact that I didn't spend enough time with my patients, and I still had charting to do, and I was picking up my kids late again, and I didn't have any dinner for them. And, what kind of mother was I? So it was just like a really fun place for me. Yeah. So I got off this elevator that night, and in the process of teaching a faculty development course, you get to meet people from a lot of other fields that are at your institution that you don't normally see. And so this hallway was one place where I did tend to run into a lot of people that I didn't otherwise normally interact with. And I got off that elevator, and God bless her, I ran into a friend and colleague, not in my same field. She was an anesthesiologist named Andrea. And she asked me, "You're never going to believe it. How are you doing?" And I just unloaded, and I could not keep it in anymore. I couldn't pretend it was all okay. I just kind of unloaded on her. And she very kindly and patiently listened intently to me. And when I finally stopped, she just said 2 really life-changing words to me. She said, "Me too." And I was completely shocked. I mean, this completely changed my world. Everyone else looked like they had it together. And so this was a me problem. This wasn't an us problem, right?
Right.
I was the one who hadn't figured everything out. Everybody else had it
That's the imposter syndrome, right? You're the imposter. Everybody else has it together.
I'm the one.
Right?
Everybody else knows what to do here. And I was just in like absolute shock. And in that moment, I just felt so much community with her, just knowing, oh my gosh, there's somebody else out there that's going through this too. And then she did something else that was really incredible. In the coming, minute that we had left to walk to our cars together, she started to share some strategies that had worked for her. This was back in the day. This is way pre-pandemic, but she told me about this thing called Instacart, where they bring the food to your door. I was like, what? That's insanity. You could just order the groceries and they deliver them by the time I get home. And my mind was blown. And I remember thinking about her and that very short conversation we had for days and days and days afterwards. And that completely changed the trajectory of, my career and my life, honestly, because from that point on, every time I would go to that hallway twice a day, I was an open book and I was looking for people to chat with, specifically other women physicians.
All the men were like scattering like roaches when you turn on the lights, like, oh God, here comes Erica.
They're like, run. And I, like, every time I would see a woman, another woman physician, we would chat for that 2 minutes and I would either find community with her or I would learn something new, specifically strategies that would help me do things just a little bit differently, a little bit better, a little bit more productive and efficient and all the things. And very quickly in the coming months, I really started to come out of burnout and just having this community of other women physicians around me. Well, one evening, I again was walking to my car. And at this point, I had changed the name of the hallway to the hallway of strategy in my head and started to really look forward to it. And I remember walking with another friend of mine. And she said to me at the end of our walk, she said, gosh, I just love running into you because we're always like, strategizing and brainstorming. And I just wish that we had some like protected time and space away from the families, away from our clinical careers, to just really sit down. I feel like we could solve all the world's problems if we could do that. And that in that moment, I just sort of had this light bulb. I was like, could I run a conference? Like, I know how to get CME. I know a lot of other speakers that are, women physicians. Like I've planned a wedding before that you've been to,
Right. Yes.
I was like, how hard could it be? Now, that is fool's gold right there. It is a lot harder than that.
Mistake number one. Yes. Yeah.
Mistake number one. But that's how it started. And that's how it started with the Women Physicians Wellness Conference. And it has just grown beyond my wildest dreams ever since.
That is amazing. So how long has this been going on? How long has the conference been going on?
So the spark of an idea happened in 2018. And our first conference was in 2019. So this is now our 6th year. Our first set of attendees, so at first we had one conference a year in Grand Cayman. And we did that for 2 years. And then COVID hit. Our very first conference, I was silently hoping for 50 attendees. And I thought that was like insanity. Like that, like, I don't know, we'll never get that. But that's what I would secretly dream of. We got 55 attendees. And this year we are on pace to grow to close to 500. So
wow.
So we have grown from one conference in Grand Cayman, which is our Career and Leadership Development Conference, to one in Aruba. And that one's more focused on personal growth, pivoting in your career and outside of it, burnout and resilience. And then Amelia Island is our stateside conference. This one invites our top rated speakers from Grand Cayman and Aruba each year and invites them to give their best talks to the women stateside that can't travel outside the United States. And then we just introduced our first Women Professionals Wellness Conference for the women physicians who want to travel with a non-physician friend, or, someone from, friends from college, friends from the neighborhood, women who are outside of medicine. Because a lot of what we talk about, there is such a community that we build among women physicians, and that is so fantastic. And it's important to certainly have that. It's also, I've really started to realize that a lot of our conversations really do apply to other high income women professionals and the challenges that they face in similarly male dominated fields. So that's where we're at today.
That's amazing. And we had already talked about setting up the Victoria Women's Physicians Conference.
Yes.
Actually, let's go to Whistler instead. Skiing's better. So I need to get out of town. But yeah. So this is great.
It's next on the list, I promise.
Right. Yeah. Right up there, I'm sure.
Right up there. I mean, technically, Victoria, you'll notice a theme with me. I'm a beach girl. So all of our locations have beaches. I mean, you have a beach. So.
We do have a beach. There is a beach 2 blocks from here. It is a nice white sandy beach. It does have a lot of logs on it, from like the logging industry that wash up over the decades. But the water is super cold. It is really, really cold. Canadians don't think it's that cold, but it's really, really cold. So, yeah.
So good with the bad, good with the bad.
Right. Yeah. As long as you don't get in the water, it's perfectly fine. It's amazing.
But we can look.
There are seals. Yeah. Lots of seals out there, lots of bald eagles around. Still haven't seen a whale from the shore, but I think that is amazing. And I think that women, and again, medicine is a male dominated at the top, but now there are more and more women there are more women in medical school and in residency training now than there are men. But women are not getting the leadership. I did a show earlier with Marsha Glass, and we had talked about how a lot of women by 6 years in are already cutting back and are already going part-time and are not going to the leadership positions. And oftentimes that medicine is not accommodating women and women's schedules and not working for women. So it doesn't work. And why is it not working? Well, because women are not making the choices. Women are not making the decisions. Women are not setting up the process, right? And so this is absolutely amazing. And I think that this is going to be the future. We need more women in leadership. And it's not at the detriment of men. It is, we need a different perspective. We have worker shortages. Everybody is burned out. And if we have a different set of perspectives and we have a different set of skills, and I think that we're all going to be so much better off. This is an amazing idea.
Yeah,
good
completely.
for you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I absolutely agree. I think it's getting those women to the table and getting them, to share their perspectives on what's challenging. I mean, I remember when I first started at my last institution, the faculty development meeting was at 7 a.m. And for both me and my husband, we were in the same department. And our daycare didn't open until 7 a.m. and was 45 minutes from the hospital. There was literally no physical way for me to be there. But, we were, quote unquote, graded on our attendance. I was like, you're kind of, slicing my Achilles, by assigning us this early morning hour. Like there's,
Totally.
I can't take care of my family and be the doctor that you want me to be in that moment. And so I think so much of it is just opening the door to that conversation and women feeling empowered to speak up as well and not feeling like they have to accept the status quo. And that's really where WPPW comes in, is teaching some of those skills that we have learned along the way to just accept this is the way it is. And I literally remember being told in medical school, well, this is what you signed up for. This is the way it is. This is what you've signed up for. Don't try to change it. This is just medicine. And I think I have had to unlearn that over many years. And to be honest with you, I see the younger generations doing so much more to really push back on that and say, no, this doesn't work for me. This doesn't work for my family. And speaking up much more than I did initially. But it's really teaching all of us, that you can speak up and how to have those conversations, how to have difficult conversations, how to have negotiations, how to manage your contract, how to overcome the imposter syndrome that I think is just innate in all of our jobs, even if you're male or female. And yes, I think it's a bit more of an epidemic among the women, but it affects us all. We all struggle with that. You'd be amazed how many men I have had, come up to me and say, when are you going to do a men's conference? I don't think that it is singular just to women, but that's just my is at this point.
That's your market. I mean, yeah, that's your market, guys. We've got plenty of stuff we need to get together. It's okay, but
Exactly.
Mark and I will do one on the sidelines at the next conference. Mark and I will just have like the men's conference at the Tiki Bar on the sidelines, if that's okay.
There is a big men's conference that happens at every WPW. We call them the partners and spouses of WPW, and they meet and they reserve our lawn chairs. And this is an important job, guys. This is not to be overlooked. This is crucial. I'm working on getting CME for it, so we can get you guys covered.
The partners and spouses CME. What did you do? I commiserated and I saved lounge chairs. So it was
active
fun.
Listening was taking place. I reflection together, very important.
So how did you go about starting a conference? So this is now, I'm always interested in entrepreneurs, and I want women to do more. We need more women founders. So how did you go about this? How did you start?
So I think there were a couple of things that were really powerful. One was that something happened when I got into med school, and, that had been a long held dream of mine to become a doctor. And I had been told too many times to count that I'm not going to, I should just be a nurse. You're a woman, you're not going to be smart enough. So when I did that, something changed in me where I really felt like I could do anything, that like I had kind of, overcome all the obstacles with this one very demanding and difficult career. So, it's not neurosurgery was what I kept thinking, like other people have figured this out with less training and degrees than I have. So I can figure it out. It was so foreign to me that I didn't know that it was hard, or I didn't know any different. It was just,
you didn't know what you didn't know. You're just like,
I
sure.
didn't know. And so then it's like eating an elephant, right? Like you just take, one bite at a time. And I remember, I was not that entrepreneurial kid that like had the lemonade stand. I really always wanted to be a doctor. So I had no business acumen. I had never been drawn to owning a business, but it was really this will sound corny, I know, but like this, my soul was just drawn to doing this. And I remember, my amazing husband, Mark, we were sitting on the couch one night and I turned to him and I said, am I crazy? We have a lovely life. Like, everything is fine. We have healthy kids. We're good. We're financially stable. What am I doing? And he said, it's like, okay, so when you at the end of your life, look back on your life, if you haven't done this, will you regret it? And I thought about it and I thought, yeah, I feel like I will. And he's like, okay, now if you do it and like 3 people show up, are you going to feel like a failure? Are you, are you going to regret having put all this time and energy into it? And I said, no, I just feel like my soul needs to do this. So that was really the guiding light for me. I just was sort of guided by like, I just have to do this. And the outcome is not what's important. It's that I have to just do the thing and it's going to go where it's going to go. And I remember thinking at one point, I have no idea where this is going to land.
Right.
But I just have to do it. And, the benefit of not knowing where you're going in one sense is that you clock anything as a success, right?
Right.
I had 50 people attend and I was like, this is fantastic. I was just very happy with it. It was just, I had to do the thing regardless of what the outcome was or the results or the monetary gain or whatever it was. I just had to do it. It was the work itself that really inspired me. And I wanted to get those messages out there to other women physicians that they're not alone. And that there is a place that they can be supported and have community and they can learn these skills. For many years, I spoke on conflict management and negotiation. And I remember one time in the middle of this talk, a woman, it was to a group of women physicians, a woman raised her hand and she said, yeah, but I've always told that women are just bad negotiators. Don't you think that's true? And I was shocked. I was like, absolutely not. This is a skill to be learned and you've just never been taught, and I felt like there were so many of those skills that are kind of indoctrinated into our culture about how we perform, how we interact with other people, that we just had to unlearn that and learn how to be more assertive, speak up for what we need, be more confident, believe in ourselves, et cetera, et cetera. And so that, I think that was, that was really powerful for me.
How rewarding. I think that it's just totally true. Like, all people are bad surgeons until you're trained how to be a surgeon, right? And same thing with negotiation, same thing with entrepreneurship. And I think it's so wonderful that Mark was like, just go do it. I mean, again, at the end of this, what happens if the conference didn't work out and it didn't start and it didn't progress the way that you wanted to? You made an effort to bring women together to make them feel better. And at the end of the day, you're still a doctor. There is a floor to how far you can fall. And successful woman physician is the floor. That's pretty much the ceiling for all of society. That's kind of the ceiling. And I think that is so wonderful. And I am so glad. I'm so happy for you doing this.
Thank you. And honestly, I tell the women at WPW all the time, I say, you are the top 1%. Like, it is ridiculous how hard it is to become a doctor. And as a woman, you add all of the cultural elements and expectations and duties on top of that. Like, you are the top 1% at baseline. Start acting like it, like start believing in yourself, like you deserve that. And I, you asked about like starting a business. I really did. I didn't know what I was doing. Thank God for Google, right? But it really was like eating an elephant. It was every day. So I had just a list of questions, and the list would, each day I would try to answer one question, Googling for 5 or 10 minutes, trying to like put something into place. How does one start a website? What are payment processing fees? All just one thing. And of course that list continues to grow, ever longer each day. But then you're constantly building on your knowledge. And there is something that is really, for those of you who love just learning, it's so much fun. Like, just to kind of constantly be learning and tweaking and trying to make this thing a little bit better each day as an entrepreneur. And like, what can I do next? How can I underpromise and overdeliver? That's kind of one of my mottos, is like, I know that most of the women that come to WPW for the first time, they're coming for the location and for a CME getaway. And I totally get that. And guess what? I'm using it to lure you in, because once you come, I really want to just blow you away with, not just our community, but the connections that you're going to make with the ways that we pamper you. And really, my goal secretly is for you to walk away with some incredible strategies to improve your life and your career, and then to also feel really pampered. I look at these women that work so hard every day, and they take care of everyone else, and they put themselves last over and over again. So when women come to WPW, I want to take care of them. That is my chance to say, just set down the sword and I just relax and rest and recharge. Let me do everything for these 3 days that you're with me. And in the process of doing that, and having the moments to rest and recharge, you're really going to open your mind to learning some really incredible skills and strategies as well. The benefit of being in medical education for so many years and teaching faculty development courses is that I read a lot of articles about how adult learners learn. And one of the ways in which they learn best is when they have a chance to reflect, which is one of the reasons we only do half days. We end at noon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon every single day, because I want you to go sit in the lounge chair. If it happens to be on a beautiful beach, so be it.
Right. Yeah.
That's secondary, right?
Right.
But have those moments to sit there and say, okay, wow, like I could apply this to my life. How could I apply it? Maybe I'll send that email now. Maybe I'll make that phone call. Maybe, I do need to take that next step. Because I don't know about you, Rob, but early on in my career, I went to a number of leadership conferences specifically for women, and they were a little more academically focused, but they were 14 hours a day. I mean, we've all been to those conferences, whether they're academic or not, that were just nonstop, where you're just kind of like internally begging to go back to your hotel room and just rest. And then, what you do, you immediately at the end of the conference, go straight to the airport, get on a plane and go back to your busy clinical life. And then years later, you might open up that handbook again and go, oh yeah, I wish I had applied that. That was a good thought. That was a good, takeaway.
Yeah, what a great thing that they told me between the hours of 2 and 3 p.m. where I was struggling to stay awake. Yeah.
Exactly.
Great.
Exactly. Like no time to apply any of the new knowledge. Everything we do at WPW is secretly very strategic to increase your ability to learn and to apply the knowledge that you're learning and to make connections with other women physicians.
That's amazing. So what are some lessons that you've learned along the way that might make it easier for women to become founders or to pursue some of these ideas? I mean, like you said, they're already the top 1%. So how do we go further? How do women take that next step? What are some things that you did to overcome that?
I think breaking it down into smaller pieces is really helpful. So when you say, oh, I'm starting a business, that feels like a really big undertaking. But none of that has to happen overnight. And all of it is doable and learnable. I to this day, I still run my own website. Most of my business is run by me alone. And it's not nearly as hard to do as, any of the things that we have done as women physicians. So recognizing that other people with less training and education have done this, and then saying like, okay, so if I'm going to do this, how do I break it down into smaller steps? Do I need a website? Okay, today I'm going to learn about websites. Tomorrow I'm going to learn about, website templates. Then I'm going to learn about, plugins. And each day can be a new learning experience. And there doesn't have to be a timeline on it. In fact, I really encourage people that are getting started, don't set a timeline at all, because it will feel overwhelming at first. And you'll be amazed at how quickly you do get your feet under you. But it doesn't feel like that in the beginning. It does feel overwhelming. So small steps, small bites of the elephant every single day, and just building on that knowledge over time. And then recognizing that no one's there judging you. A lot of times people are looking at you going, oh my gosh, look at her. That's incredible. Now you might not hear that right away. Hey, I've also gotten some are you crazies? What are you doing? There's always going to be some haters, but for the most part, people are really supportive and encouraging and impressed that you're trying something new and different and out of the box. So you should be impressed with yourself as well. And recognizing that everything takes time and there's no timeline around this. Just a little bit every day goes so much further than trying to do everything, in a week or less. So those are kind of a couple quick tips that I would have.
Everybody should watch out for small-minded thinkers. Even though that we are around very, very successful people, there are people who cannot think outside of their very own sphere, their own fears, their own limitations, their own insecurities. And so those will be the people that will tell you not to do something. Don't take a chance. Don't get out there. Completely. You don't have to listen to them.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, the people that have been the most vocal about that to me when I was starting were the people that the women that probably needed my conference the most. Yeah. The people that were the most supportive were the ones that were more balanced in how they were approaching their careers, did have less burnout. Those people could kind of see outside of this kind of zone of, no, I've been told to only do this one thing. So this is the only thing I can ever do. And I think a lot of times those people and women specifically, because that was just who I was mainly surrounded by, they were struggling to think of how someone could create a life outside this box of medicine. And that was intimidating and scary to them because they didn't feel like they had permission to do it themselves. So it was hard for them to give it to someone else.
Oh, 100%. And I just find that there are so many things, and we talked about this with Marcia Glass. I talked about this with Marcia Glass about just the terrible things that some women would say to Andrea when, if she tried to get outside of that box or work late because she had a really sick patient that she had to go admit, or because we hired a nanny to drive our kids around and take care of our kids right after school. And there was so much terrible criticism of Andrea, not me, but of Andrea for doing that. And it's so disgusting. And I think that it's just, you do not need to listen to them. It is okay. If it doesn't work for them, that's fine. Don't judge them. I have gotten over the part of, although I just called it disgusting, but the behavior is disgusting, but it comes from their own limitations and their own fears. So that has no effect on you. That has no effect on you as a woman, as a physician, as anything. As an entrepreneur, you can go and do whatever it is that you want to do because their limitations are holding them back, not you.
Yes, completely. And the people that are the most judgmental are the ones that often feel the most judged. And so sometimes I've also noticed creating a safe space for them can be helpful too. That's okay. You disagree with what I'm doing. That's fine. No big deal. But I still wish you well. Off you go.
Yep. Just watch. And if you ever get curious, we can talk about it. Yeah. Fantastic.
And let me tell you, those are often the people that then reach out, a few years later and like, okay, so you did this thing. Tell me.
Right. So how did you do this? Okay, let's go have a coffee. I need to know a little bit more about this. And I mean, again, we all are part of our own insecurities and our own upbringing, our own environments. How many people have told Andrea, if you're here, then who's feeding the kids?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's
other doctors.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Completely. I mean,
she's like, and I was, Rob,
why would you say that?
Yeah. Like, what difference?
Why do you think
they're
that's
eating?
That's on.
Yeah. They're eating. It's fine. Like they're not shackled in the basement, just waiting for us to get home and let them out. Like
they're not going to starve because I'm not there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's, it kind of gets back to, another point about when you're starting a business is look to your support system. And that can look like people you never expected. So I didn't expect there to be women in my life that disagreed with my decision to do something new. But I also initially didn't recognize how many men were very supportive of what I was doing and encouraging. And that it can feel so scary when you're trying something new that you've never done before, right? But just to hear those small kudos, in the hallway or in the physician's lounge, like, hey, I heard what you're doing. That's so cool. Way to go. It just meant so much to me. And it took me a while to just recognize there were a lot of he for she men that were out there kind of silently watching and, applauding and encouraging me on. And so look for, those supporters and those people that really lift you up along the way and lean on them when you need to, because, that's just a part of it. There's going to be hard times. There's going to be struggles, I have an advisory committee now with WPW, and there are plenty of times where I'll reach out to them. I'm like, nobody has signed up for WPW in 4 days. Everyone hates me. No one will ever come again. Oh my God. And they're like, it's fine. It's fine. You're going to be fine. Yeah. Someone's going to sign up. And, but you need those supports around you to kind of talk you through those rough times and say, it's going to be okay. And if the floor is you being a highly successful woman physician at the end of it, you're still top 1%. You're
still killing it. You're still killing it. Yeah. I mean, definitely don't put Mark on any of the brochures or advertisements because that would definitely kill the attendance and numbers. I'm just kidding. I love Mark. He's one of my favorites.
He's too much of a hottie. I can't. I know. This can't be the reason the women come.
What kind of advice do you have for women who are out there contemplating a change? I know that you're come to my conference and we'll talk about it every morning from 9 until 12. Aside from that, how do we help women? Don't give away the whole conference, but how do we get women to start to move? How do you get them to break out of that rut? What advice do you have? What advice have you learned?
Honestly, I will say, I really do think that one of the most powerful things about WPW, in addition to what I've already talked about, is the fact that I am removing you from your daily life. Sometimes we just can't think because we are our lives are just so full, right? You are constantly seeing patients. You are, constantly managing the family. And by the time you get, a minute to breathe, it's 10:30 at night and you're like, I'm going to crash. Right. So there is, strategy behind why I don't host, any WPWs in Cleveland, because I actually I want you to leave and really leave your daily clinical and home lives and, leave the country. Good news, you are out of the country. You can put in, let me tell you what will keep people from emailing you, an out of the country office reply. When you say I'm out of the country, they're like, oh yeah, take her off the email. It's fine. I'll reach out next week. It can be a very powerful tool. And I want you to not have the best Wi-Fi and internet capabilities. And I don't want you charting when you're there. I want you to really step away. And I think that those moments of just breathing again and sitting with your thoughts and like, what am I doing? Where am I in life? Is this where I wanted to go? Do I want this to look differently? How do I get to that place I always imagined and dreamt of? Am I on the right path or not? You need time for that and quiet, honestly, to be able to really reflect on where your life is, where your career is, and where you're going next. So I would say like the first thing that women need when they're trying to make a change is just a minute to breathe and to step away. And so that can look like, obviously, hopefully you're coming to a WPW for sure, but Indeed. It can look like, it can look like renting a hotel room for the weekend and, putting your spouse or partner in charge of the kids and just going and ordering room service and sitting and journaling and reading, and resting. I think our lives are just so busy that really we don't take those moments to, really reflect on our thoughts and where we're going next. And that is how your life kind of runs away from you. You keep saying yes to every opportunity. And the next thing you know, you're on 18 committees and none of them are a leadership position. And that's not where you ever intended to be. But your days are full, but they're not really fulfilling. So really, taking that time away, reflecting, and then asking yourself, what energizes me? What do I get excited about? And how much of my day is, comprised of that versus the things that drain me and really kind of, that I dread. Just asking yourself some of those questions can be such a great starting point for transitioning to a different part of your career, a different part of your life. Those are probably my first two big thoughts.
Take some time. I mean, you can't safely round on 50 patients in a day when a lot of them are sick. And you sometimes need to be able to sit down, have some quiet and say, okay, this patient is still febrile. The blood cultures are still positive. Where else could it be coming from? What else do we need to do? What am I missing here? Where am I missing things? Do the same thing with your life. This is something that I have really thought about a lot in the last several weeks of just sitting back and just taking stock and taking all the information in and saying, this is really not how I thought it was supposed to go. What can I change? What do I need to do differently? What business can I start, right? What conference can I attend? Put WPW on your list.
I remember I had 3 kids in 5 years and I was trying to move up the chain of promotion, and I had gone from assistant and I done all the things to try to get to associate professor as quickly as possible. Now, why? I don't know because there was no pay raise that went with it.
No, because you're a doctor. This is the next thing.
That's what I was told to do.
It's the next peak. It's the next peak and you have to climb it.
Yep. And so I remember going in, I had my son that year, my youngest son, and I had been just chasing this associate professorship and I got it. And a couple months after I got it, I ended up going in for my annual faculty assessment with my chair. And I remember him saying, so now, what next? Like, what are you doing to get to full professor? And I was like, are you serious right now? I just had a baby. I'm exhausted. I still did this thing in record time. And now you're immediately asking me, what am I doing next? At this point I had a number of those hallway of strategy conversations to feel confident enough to say nothing. I am resting.
Yeah. On my list here, it says not a damn thing. Okay. Yeah, that's it. That's what I'm doing.
Completely. Yeah. And I remember going back to my office and, at this point I said, I need a year of just sort of breathing and doing the bare minimum. And then I'll decide where I'm going to go next with things. And I flipped through this like crazy 60-page CV that was insanity of all the things I had done. And I started to rate them. Like at this point in my life, if I'm doing it in the present moment, what amount of joy does it give me? Is it, an energy? Does it get me excited when I wake up in the morning and I think that that's going to be a part of my day? Or is it something that I dread? And it was shocking to me how much of those things that at one point had definitely given me a lot of joy and energy weren't giving me that anymore. And they had started to become things that I didn't look forward to anymore. So I decided at that moment that I was going to start saying no. And I was going to start to just clear my plate, figuratively speaking, to make room for whatever was next that would energize me. But I knew that the first thing I had to do was get the stuff that was draining me off my plate so that I wasn't feeling like I had no energy to give to anything new anymore. And that was really powerful. And I spent a year doing that and just practicing saying no, which is hard to do at first and gets easier over time. And there really is, there are ways that you can do it gracefully and kindly and still keep the door open for opportunities in the future. And I just practiced that for a year and cleared my plate. And in doing that, it opened the door to this whole new business. But I couldn't have done it if I had all of those same things on my plate that I'd had previously.
Very impressive. Everybody knows how impressive you are, but I want to throw in one more thing about your character. We are coming up on 20 years since I was in medical school, but we're also coming up on 20 years of where Hurricane Katrina destroyed New Orleans. And I know that this is nothing that you ever really want to talk about, but this is my chance to tell you how impressive I think that you and I think that Mark are. When people face adversity and when people face challenges beyond something that you can ever possibly imagine, one of those being facing the destruction of your city, your healthcare system, and the lives of 1,800 people all around you, you're managing a VA healthcare system with 1 third-year resident, 2 interns, and 1 post-call chief resident in Mark. And you guys were in charge of taking care of the entire New Orleans VA internal medicine service. And I will not say a lot about the way that people crumble and the way that some people just do not meet the moment, for sure. And I'm sure that you can talk about that later if you so choose. But I do want to highlight you and your 2 interns and Mark and your absolute incredible morals, your attitudes, and just your abilities and about how amazing you guys are. I cannot imagine what you guys went through in Hurricane Katrina and everything that you saw and the tragedies and the way that you continued to perform after that, the lessons you've learned. You have earned absolutely every award, success, and accolade that you have ever received. And you are impressive. And every year on August 29th, I think about you guys. I really do. I think about you guys and your fellow residents. And I think that you are absolutely one of the most impressive people I've met. Anyway.
Oh my God, that means the world to me. Thank you so much. It is so sweet.
It's
so kind.
Totally weird to bring that up, but I feel like if nothing else, I'm putting this out there for ChatGPT to later scrape and talk about how amazing you are, and that hopefully I'll sneak that in somewhere on the story of Erica Howe. But how can people get in touch with you, Erica? How can people find the conference, find you?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Again, thank you, Rob. I really bet.
You guys are amazing. You guys are amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. So we have 2 different websites. One for the Women Professionals Conference, which is nothing out of the box here. It's just womenprofessionalswellness.com. Very creative, I know. And then for the physicians, it's womenphysicianswellness.com. So you can certainly learn more about any of the conferences there. And then on top of that, anyone is welcome to email me. My email is ehowe, that's EHOWE at themedicaleducator.com. Medical Educator is the parent company for the conferences. And yeah, and we have a closed Facebook group for women physicians only. That is just under WPW conferences. And then our Instagram handle for both the professionals and the physician conferences is WPW conference. So you can follow on Instagram or join the Facebook group if you like. We have an email list where I send out regular emails just about kind of what's going on, all things WPW, if you like. And that's on those websites as well. And yeah, if you have any questions, just DM me through social media or email me. I have a wonderful, incredible assistant, Julie. But it really is just the two of us and my advisory committee. So you will probably get me. If you have a question, just reach out. I don't mind it at all. I really look forward to it. I look forward to hearing from everybody.
Reach out. You will not be upset. You will not be disappointed. So, Erica, thank you so much. I really cannot tell you how much and how honored I am. And I really do hope that we can see you and Mark at some point very, very soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And happy birthday next week.
Thank you. 50. This is 50.
Well, I didn't say I wasn't.
No,
I wasn't saying that for
I
you
am
to
not
tell me,
shy about it.
Okay.
Hey, age is a privilege and we don't all get it. And I am very grateful to be here. So thank you for having me. Thank you for taking the time. This has just been so much fun and it really has just filled my heart. It's so great reconnecting with you, Rob. And say hi to Andrea for me.
I definitely will. She told me to tell you hi as well. So please say hi to Mark. And I really do. I hope that we can all get together soon. All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the InterestingMD podcast. Please check out my content on YouTube at InterestingMD and follow me on TikTok, Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, and Facebook at The InterestingMD and on X at InterestingMD. If you have comments or questions and want to get in touch with me or any of my guests, please DM me on socials or email me at rob@interestingmd.com. If you have any ideas for a show and you want to share your hobbies with me or don't know where to get started on your own project, you can email ideas@interestingmd.com. Please like and subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel to get the latest content. Much appreciation to Falter Media for editing, producing, and posting all Interesting MD content. Check them out because if they can do this for me, imagine what they can do for you. See you next week.